Ghost in the Shell is a long-running franchise that has held its cult following through its many incarnations. People enjoy its cyberpunk future with fascinating ideas and interesting characters. One of these characters is, of course, Motoko Kusangi, also known as the Major.
The Major is a synthetic, full-body prosthetics, augmented cybernetic human employed as the field commander of Public Security Section 9, which is a fictional law enforcement division of the Japanese National Police Safety Commission. Being strong-willed, physically powerful, and highly intelligent, she is well known for her skills in deduction, hacking, and military tactics.
Now, as you may or may not know, there are 3 different versions of Ghost in the Shell, animation-wise. The original movie in 1995 and its sequel, Innocence, in 2004. There's also the TV anime standalone complex that ran from 2002 to 2005, including its sequel movie, Solid State Society, in 2006. Lastly is the most recent version, the Arise OVA series from 2013 to 2015, including its sequel movie in 2015. Of all these different versions, there have been different versions of the Major herself. And while similar in a lot of ways, they are also different in a lot of ways as well. While I enjoy all 3 versions of the Major, I must ask myself, which version do I like the most? Well, that's what I'm planning on doing today. I'll be pitting the 3 versions of the Major against each other in 4 different categories. These categories including the Major's character design, personality, overall character arc, and our relationship to the other characters. Whoever wins the most categories at the end is the best version of the Major. In my opinion, of course. I should also mention that I'll be talking about minor to major spoilers of all 3 versions, so you have been warned. Let's start by discussing which version of the Major is the best. First up is the Major's character design. Before we get started, I should talk about how each character design of the Major has different color to her, and this color scheme carries on through her hair, clothes, and other things.
The original movie version of the Major has the most basic character design of the 3 of them, whose overall color is black. She sports short black hair, a basic black tank top, and a brown jacket most of the time. She also puts on an armored uniform when out in the field, though when she needs to use her camouflage mode, she'll strip it off and parade around naked. Why? Well, fan service moments, of course, and an in-movie reason, which I'll get to in another category. While this character design is very basic, it fits well in with the movie's tone and overall down-to-earth feeling. She isn't meant to be flashy in this version, so it makes sense that her design is pretty basic in the movie. Next up is the character design of the Major in the standalone complex series, whose overall color is purple. This version of the Major has purple hair and is longer, though still pretty short. She also sports red eyes, which matches well with the purple hair. This being a series, of course, she has a variety of outfits. One being her bodysuit that she wears the majority of the time out in the field. There's also her light purple one-piece outfit that she'll sometimes wear along with her black jacket. For more professional outings, the Major wears a tan suit with a red tie, the top being masculine and the bottom being feminine. While this version of the Major's character design has a bit more variety, it also leads to opportunities for male gaze shots that bring in fan service that can get a bit annoying sometimes. Next up is the character design of the Major from the Arise OVA series, whose overall color is red. This one definitely being the most flashy out of the 3. This time around, the Major has much shorter blue hair and blue eyes. Her most frequent outfit is a black undershirt with a red jacket along with her red pants. This outfit matches well with her red motorcycle that she uses as her main source of transportation. Also in the 3rd OVA episode, on a date with her boyfriend, she sports a red dress that leaves lots of the skin exposed. This is definitely a modern version of the Major, her whole look having much more color and personality to it.
And that's why I believe the Arise version of the Major's character design is the best one out of the 3. While the original movie's version is basic, subdued, which matches the overall tone of the movie, it is a bit too basic and not that memorable. Now, while the standalone complex character design has more personality to it, it allows for a bit too much male gaze moments at times. The Arise character design looks the best, with the red color scheme really popping out. It also goes along with her whole aesthetic with her red motorcycle and dress. It's a modern take on the Major's character design, and one that I really enjoy. That's why the Arise series wins the first category. The next category is the Major's personality, which, like the character design, each version has some similarity to it, but each one is also different in its own way.
The Major's personality in the original movie is much more distant and closed off than the rest of the versions. She doesn't talk that much and prefers to be out in the field on a mission, though she does find herself cracking a joke or two. This version of the Major is also a bit more questionable about her own identity and how she fits into everything, which I'll get into more detail in the character arc category. Again, just like her character design, this personality fits well with the overall movie's tone. And even though she is a bit distant and closed off with everyone, she does respect and is respected by her team, most notably Bato. Though with the original movie only being an hour and 22 minutes, the movie isn't given enough time to fully flesh out this version of the Major's personality, since they have a lot of plot and philosophical talk to get through. And that truly gets in the way of this version of the Major from having a distinct personality. Another thing that I want to talk about with this version of the Major's personality is that of her gender. Because this version of the Major questions whether or not she's human, she doesn't really identify as female or anything for that matter. For example, after going for a swim and surfacing on Bato's boat, she goes to strip off her diving suit to get into her normal attire. Doing this in full view of Bato. Bato, seeing this, looks away. Bato will also give the Major his jacket after she uses her camouflage mode in order to cover her up, doing the same in the second movie when the Major is possessing a mannequin-like body. Because of that, you can question if Bato is more human than the Major in this version because of his human reactions to the Major's body. And because the Major doesn't quite see herself as a human, do regular gender pronouns even matter to her and how she presents herself? The answer is unclear, but it is a fun thing to analyze if you watch the movie. Next up is the personality of the Major from the Standalone Complex series. Obviously, because the Standalone Complex series is a series of 52 episodes in a movie, there were a lot more opportunities for the show to showcase the Major's personality, much like with the other versions. The Major is almost always in business mode. Most of the time, she's on a job and she's always serious, which is why everyone respects her and obeys her orders, because of how much authority she develops. Though that doesn't mean that she can't be a little playful sometimes. She'll often tease her teammates sometimes, mostly Bato and Togasa, who she's the closest to in the team. There was even one time in the second season when she suggested to the team that they should go to a strip club if their current mission is a success. This version of the Major is also very secretive. For one thing, she has a secret past that no one truly knows about. We as an audience are revealed bits and pieces of her past, but even then, there are some things that are still unclear. At the end of season 1, when Bato questions the Major about her safe house and a watch that she cherishes, she refuses to give him a full answer about it, only giving him a few hints about a possible lover that she had in the past. The Major also has a couple of cybernetic bodies that no one in Section 9 knows about. There's the young body that the Major uses to spy on a Tachikoma in the first season, and we see some more in the Solid State Society movie. This side of this version of the Major makes her a little more intriguing and interesting. Last up is the personality of the Major from the Arise series. As this series is sort of like a prequel of sorts to the entire franchise, this version of the Major is much younger and doesn't have a lot of experience under her belt, and that reflects onto her personality. This version of the Major's personality is much more erratic and quick to action. She doesn't try to survey the situation first and instead prefers to head into the fray without even thinking it over first. Again, this is a younger version of the Major who hasn't been a part of Section 9 yet, but much like the movie's personality, she does sort of distance herself from her teammates and is quick to berate them if they upset her. The only time we truly see a much calmer and more open side of the Major's personality is with her boyfriend in the third episode. This allows her to open up more to him and actually fully trust someone. More on this later. In the end, this version of the Major's personality is like that of a young adult in this field. Smart, intelligent, and strong, but not mature enough to be the ultimate badass that we know her as in the other versions.
So in the end, I'm going to give the best personality of the Major to the standalone complex version of the character. Again, because the series is 52 episodes in a movie, it allows the Major's personality to be more fleshed out. She has both a business side and a playful side, which makes her a fun character to follow. She's also very secretive, which allows her to be very interesting. If we don't know the full story about her and her past, we can infer ourselves about it through various clues sprinkled out throughout the series. And that's why I'm going to give this point to the standalone complex version of the Major. The next category is the overall character arc that each version of the Major goes through in their version of Ghost in the Shell. How the Major grows and the trials that she goes through in her version that ultimately changes her.
First up is the overall character arc of the Major of the original movie. And boy is this one pretty complex. In this version of Ghost in the Shell, since she has a full cybernetic body, the Major is not certain that her ghost retains any humanity and speculates the possibility that she might be entirely synthetic, only possessing artificially generated memories designed to fool her into thinking that she was once human. Throughout the movie, the Major seeks to find answers to these questions and meets the Puppet Master, a rogue AI who becomes sentient and who is also looking for existential meaning. In the climax of the film, the Major and the Puppet Master merge to form an entirely new entity that exists free of physical boundaries and can procreate itself throughout the net. The overall character arc of the Major is very strong and fits well with the original movie's philosophical tone. Next up is the character arc of the Major from the Standalone Complex series, or, quite honestly, a lack thereof. Truthfully, the Major's character arc is practically non-existent. Any character arcs that happen in the show is the overarching characters for each individual season. And since a lot of the episodes in the standalone complex are anthology episodes, any character development that the Major gets is connected to something that may happen in the series. The closest development we get is when the Major discovers that the Season 2 villain Kuze is actually her old childhood friend that she was once in love with. Because of this, and other things, she decides to quit Section 9 and venture out on her own. Speaking of which, this transfers into the Solid State Society movie. In this movie, the Major has an arc that is similar to the original Ghost in the Shell movie, in which she is trying to figure out some things about her past and where she belongs. However, by the end, she sort of just reverts back to normal and rejoins Section 9. There are hints that there is something more interesting there in the movie, but the movie doesn't answer any of the intriguing questions before it ends. And that's basically the Major's character arc in this version in a nutshell. The character arc of the Major from the Arise series is of the Major learning to trust others, including her teammates, eventually leading to her joining Section 9 and becoming its leader. She also has to overcome and figure out which part of her past is real and which part of it is fabricated, as a big thing of the Arise series is that of people being implemented with false memories. As people that she used to trust betray her and leave her behind, she has a hard time finding a place to belong. The Major ultimately realizing that that place is with Section 9. Not the most complex character arc, but it's detailed enough to fit in with the fact that this is sort of like a prequel to the entire franchise, featuring a younger and inexperienced Major, as I mentioned before.
Because the standalone complex Major's character arc is mostly dependent on the events of the show and not herself, and the Arise Major's character arc being a bit too simple for the series, I'm gonna have to give this category to the original movie version of the Major. The entire movie is centered around this character arc, and it's the most complex of the three. It also fits in well with the philosophical tone of the movie, and it is the most memorable of the three. It's an arc that enables a lot of discussion and theories about the entire meaning of the movie, and that's what makes it stand the test of time, much like the original movie itself. Our last category is the Major's relationship and how she interacts with the other characters.
In the original movie, the only relationship we get is the Major with her longtime partner Bato and new recruit Togasa. As I mentioned before, the Major is pretty distant and closed off from the majority of her teammates, and she doesn't seem to have interactions with people outside of work. The Major will often tease and question if Togasa is ready to work for Section 9, as he doesn't have any synthetic body parts in him unlike everyone else that they work with. She's probably the closest with Bato, often spending time with him outside of work, spending their day off together on a boat, drinking beer together. Later in the sequel that centers around Bato, the Major comes out of hiding to help Bato when he's under attack, also possessing one of the mannequin dolls to help him fight off the AI ones. And then after the battle, when Bato puts his jacket on the Major to cover her up, the Major is pretty pleased to see that Bato hasn't changed since they last saw each other. Now while the Major's relationship with Bato is strong, the movie doesn't have enough time to flesh out the Major's relationship with the other characters. Next is the Major's relationship with the other characters in the standalone complex series. Again, because the series consists of 52 episodes in a movie, it allows any relationship to be fleshed out and for more to form than the others. First off, there's the relationship that the Major has with her teammates of Section 9 and Chief Aramaki. For one thing, all of the members of Section 9 look at the Major with respect and they obey her authority. They never go against her orders in fear of facing her wrath. Aramaki also trusts the Major with leading the team of Section 9 and often allows her to take care of everything in the action while he takes care of everything diplomatically. The person in Section 9 that the Major is closest to is Bato. The two of them work closely together and often team up during the episode's mission. It is also hinted at that the two of them might have romantic feelings towards each other, but they like to keep it professional instead, thinking that they'll work together better if they remain only as co-workers, though it should be noted that Bato is the only person in Section 9 that referred to the Major by her name, Motoko Kusangi, both at the end of Season 1 and Season 2 when he thought that the Major was either in danger or dead. This shows the close connection that the two share with each other. It should also be noted that the Major from the original Ghost in the Shell manga is bisexual, as she has a boyfriend and engages in explicit lesbian VR sex at the same time. This bisexuality transfers into the standalone complex series and is the only version to showcase this side of the Major. On the male side, there is only one other male character in the entire series that refers to the Major as Motoko besides Bato. It's when Section 9 is out on a mission and they come into conflict with Section 1. One of the members of Section 1 asks the characters if they work with Motoko. This hints that this person might have been in a past relationship with the Major. There's also a watch that the Major cherishes and cares a lot about, leading Bato to believe that it may have belonged to a past lover of the Major. There's also the 11th episode in the second season of the show, my favorite episode by the way, when the Major learns the origin of the two young prosthetic bodies that she comes across. The girl is her old body and the boy being someone that she was in a major crash with. The Major saying that this boy was the first person that she fell in love with. At the end of the second season, we learn that this person is Kuze, which brings the two closer together. On the women's side, the Major seems to be in a relationship with two women that she hangs out with and sleeps with from time to time, this being Kurutan and Ran. When the Major tries to get information about the old Laughing Man incident from Kurutan's data drive, she tells her that she'll try to make up the fact that she hasn't been around that much to her later. When the Major dives into the net, Ran arrives, and when she dives out, she smiles when she sees Kurutan and Ran lying together in the bed. There's also the time when the Major had to undergo a prosthetic body swap. When Kurutan looks over the new upgrade she'll get, she says that it actually gets her a little excited. Throughout the series, we get a hint that the Major is in a three-way relationship with these two women, and it's the closest thing that the Major has to a long-term romantic relationship in Standalone Complex. It should also be noted that Kurutan and Ran also refer to the Major as Motoko. Now on to the Major's relationship with the other characters from the Arise series. Again, as this is a sort of a prequel, this is the first time that the Major is meeting a majority of these characters. The only characters she knows personally is Bato and Ishikawa, as they fought together in different sections of the war. As the series goes on, the Major recruits the different members of Section 9, following the orders of Aramaki. And because the task force is newly formed, the members don't get along all the time, and the Major has a hard time handling the position as their commanding officer. By the end though, she and the others become the Section 9 team that we know from both the movies and the TV series. She also has a questionable relationship with her previous boss Kuretsu, as the Major never truly trusts her, always feeling that she is hiding something from her. The strongest relationship that the Major has in the Arise series is the relationship that she has with her boyfriend, Akira Jose. They try to find time together outside of work and have nice and romantic virtual lovemaking scenes. The Major also lets her defense down around him and is the one that she trusts the most when she is dating him. However, she starts to question her boyfriend when he seems to be connected to the case of the episode. There's also the fact that the Major's prosthetic parts have been malfunctioning and Akira is the one who designed them for her. This relationship is the driving force of the third episode, thus getting more fleshed out and shown in more detail.
Because of the length of the Standalone Complex TV series, it being 52 episodes in a movie, the Major is allowed to have more relationships with more people. And these relationships can be fleshed out and shown in more detail than the other versions of the Major. And that's why I'm giving the last category to the Standalone Complex TV series. Not only does she get respect from her co-workers at Section 9 and has a great partnership with Bato, but this is the only version of the Major that includes the bisexuality from the original manga. Having had relationships with men in the past and is currently in a three-way relationship with Kurutan and Ran. More time spent with the character means more time to get to know about the Major and the people in her life. And that's ultimately why I think that the Standalone Complex version of the Major is the best version of the Major from any of the Ghost in the Shell series. Sure, she might have the best character design or have any character arc to speak of, but her personality and the relationship she has with the other characters is strong enough to become the most memorable version. And it's the one that I ultimately love the most. In the end though, no matter what version of the Major is your favorite, she's a great character that has lasted in popularity throughout the ages. And I don't see this popularity going away anytime soon.